She needs to be unmuted.
Yes, do you see her? I see her in the chat.
All right, unmute your microphone.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Gotcha.
Thank you all. Thank you. Sorry, I was having a little bit of technical difficulties.
We're just thrilled you're here.
Yes, it's a pleasure.
Definitely.
Angelic Williams, should I get started? Okay, I got a resounding yes over chat. So fantastic. So I'm so excited to be here. This is StartOut Summit Session 5, How to Leverage Entrepreneurship for Social Justice, How to Be a Good Ally. My name is Peggy Mango. I'm a partner with PayPal Ventures, and I am joined by Acacia, founder of Ethnic Ties, Kimberly Mahan, founder and partner at MAXX Potential, Mario Ruiz, who's also an investor with PayPal Ventures. And this session is 45 minutes, and this is kind of how it'll flow. So we'll start with introductions from our panelists, followed by a few questions that I've prepared to really talk and dig into this exciting subject. And then the last 10 minutes will be reserved for questions. And a couple housekeeping items. Please mute yourself. Please pin the panelists so you can easily see them. During Q&A, there's a raise hand icon on the top. If you click that icon, I can see that you want to ask a question, and then I'll call your name to do the question answer session. Well, with that, I'm so excited to be here, and with that, I will get started. Let's start with introductions. Acacia WoodsChan, would you please introduce yourself?
Yes, and let me just say it is such an honor and a joy to be here. My name is Acacia. I'm a Bay Area born and raised, and I'm the founder of actually 2 businesses at this point because of coronavirus. I'm the founder of Ethnic Ties, which is a travel-based business that supports diverse travelers. So we do this through pre-departure preparation, through sociocultural consulting, and through personalized itinerary development. The reason for this is because in the mainstream travel industry, we tend to be very underrepresented. We see a lot of heteronormative white men or families that are traveling, and that's kind of like the standard. And so that's the impetus for Ethnic Ties. During coronavirus, we obviously had to shift because travel wasn't happening. And so now I've also kind of developed a number of latent skills and past experiences that I had in supporting entrepreneurs of color that are emerging. And so currently I have been working with a number of entrepreneurs just in individual consulting growth strategies for their development and then getting them to the launch stage. So it's a pleasure to be here. I definitely look forward to sharing my experiences, and I'm glad to be here with such a powerhouse of panelists.
Excellent, thank you. Now, Kimberly Mahan.
Yes. Hi, everybody. I am also truly grateful to be here. So much positivity, and yeah, it's just a great opportunity. I think when it comes to allies and entrepreneurs, best allies are other entrepreneurs. And so any opportunities I can get to share all the mistakes I've made or just the path to try to help others avoid those mistakes, I'll take people up on that. My company is MAXX Potential. So we're 8 years old, and we're focused on helping companies diversify their tech talent pipeline. We are also helping people get careers in tech. So we focus exclusively on hiring people in the can't get a job without experience, can't get experience without a job, in that 0 to 2 year zone. We give people paychecks first, get them working on real projects, real world work. We're focused on onshoring work and bringing work in that entry level space, and we supervise the work. We assure our customers it gets done, while at the same time reducing their risk in that high turnover entry level space. Been at that for 8 years. It's not my first rodeo. I have had failed startups before that, and originally born and raised outside of DC, so Oxon Hill, Maryland. And just from where I come from, it was, I definitely have the interesting backstory, single mom, 3 kids, and been on welfare, been in certain, I know where I come from, and I'll never forget it and never stop being grateful for it. But it was originally teaching myself to build websites way back in the late 90s that helped me get that first corporate job. And then, my whole trajectory increased. So I wake up every day just trying to open up that door for other people. So.
Thank you very much. Mario?
Great. And echoes the sentiments. I'm so excited to be here and just love the energy so far and excited for this conversation. And so Mario Ruiz, I'm an investor at PayPal Ventures. I've been at PayPal now for a little bit over a year and a half. Born and raised in the Bronx in New York. And I think echo Kim's sentiments around just the experiences growing up and really carrying that with me. I come from a first generation background. My mom's from Guatemala, my dad's from Puerto Rico, grew up on food stamps most of my life. And I think that those experiences really help shape me. And I think now as an investor on the other side of the table and providing capital to entrepreneurs, really thinking through that distance travel, helping founders who have accomplished a lot in their lives and thinking through that as well. And so really excited to be here and continue the conversation with Peggy and everyone else on the call.
Thank you so much. All right, so I'm going to start with some of our questions. So the first question is, how have you incorporated social justice into your work or business? And in doing so, did you face any pushback? And let's start with Acacia, please. You're on mute.
Muted.
Sorry about that. I'm trying to be all conscious of other people's in my backspace. So thank you for the question. Yes, social justice is the base of what I do. And let me just say from being a child, I also grew up in poverty, basically. I come from a lineage of immigrants on one side, we're from China, and on the other side, on my African-American side, we have struggled a lot intergenerationally. And so I don't even regard it as social justice. I just regard this as the way that I was raised and wanting to provide for the ways that not only I was not necessarily provided for, but the way, to kind of create regenerative ways to speak to a system that is utterly flawed, particularly for historically oppressed peoples. So my businesses are all about supporting historically oppressed peoples, including women, people from the LGBTQ community, Black, Indigenous, people of color, differently abled, immigrant, English language learning, working class people. So 9 to 5, we're supporting their innate talents and abilities by giving them the tools to create the everyday and economic foundations for themselves and for their families by building on their skills and talents, building some of their administrative and structural understanding so that they can be successful when they do build and launch their businesses. Now, obviously, being able to build skills and talents is one part of the equation. A huge part of the equation is a very inequitable structural system that has continued to thrive off of the oppression of a number of marginalized communities. And so that's the base of what I do. For Ethnic Ties, it's a similar kind of philosophy and foundation. We're supporting social justice, which is the basis for the travel business. We are supporting a regenerative type of awareness and inclusion in the travel industry, centering travelers of color, women, plus size travelers, many populations that are not regarded in mainstream travel organizations and publications. And so what that looks like also is that when we are doing international or even local travels, we're being very conscious about the way that we are interacting with our partners, and then who we're actually giving our business to, what kind of publications that we're highlighting, what type of brands, what type of relationships that we're even wanting to make. And some of these decisions can be a little bit more tricky. And so some of the pushback that I've received is, number one, wanting to work with brands that may not necessarily be already established. And sometimes it is taking a leap of faith, and sometimes it can be challenging because, we're working together to create what we want to have. It's not already established in some situations. Sometimes I get pushback from my team or some of even my clients in terms of why I'm wanting to work with, again, certain brands that may still be in the development stage. So sometimes, for instance, I like to travel when I like to focus on the African diaspora, which looks so many different ways. However, sometimes some of our Black travel brands want to focus solely on the African American or the Western Black experience without realizing some of the inherent privilege in having an American passport and what that looks like, and how that can affect so many of, or different realities can affect so many of our global brothers and sisters that are facing other challenges. So, for instance, in the travel industry, travel from some of my American colleagues or clients can become synonymous with vacation or luxury. But in reality, I'd like to say that travel is a human right. The perspective really changes when we're talking about forced immigration or displacement, and that's a topic that some people don't really want to engage in. So definitely trying to always foreground the realities of a number of our international counterparts that may not be in the place to have their voices heard. That's
so fascinating, and I'm just enjoying listening to you speak and learning more about your company. It's so we could spend hours, I think. This is so exciting. Kim, I would love to hear your perspective.
Yeah, and I will first preface all my comments with saying, like, I am not an expert in the social justice space, and I would echo that sentiment. I'm just kind of giving back what I have to give, which is my experiences, and started out trying to solve a specific problem, which was in my lane, which as an IT leader, it's how do I take all these years of experience managing work and managing people all around the world, moving work from India to China, China to Mexico. Started off just saying, how do we bring it back? And knowing that we have people here who need jobs. And so the way I feel like I can contribute most to social justice conversations is getting people paychecks. And the more people that we can get employed, I'm just approaching this from, in order for it to be sustainable, it needs to be able to pay for itself. And, as opposed to other nonprofit models, there are things that we do differently. Like I said, I've been at it for 8 years. We're still here, so it is paying for itself, but has probably grown slower just because, for me, the how we do things is as important as where we're going, and making sure that we're maintaining, our standards of ethics and treating people right. We intentionally recruit from all walks of life. So we're recruiting from lower income communities, both urban and rural. We also have UVA and Virginia Tech grads that show up, and I'm not going to turn them away. And we recruit from veterans, we recruit HBCUs. It's kind of like we're casting the net, and what we're looking for is this really a good choice for you? And then our model is set up to where we're not taking money from people. Our apprentices are not under contracts. They're not locked in to be with us. It's like the faster you can build your skills, get up and out, the better for you, the better for us. And so it's not, we don't hold people's salaries once they fly away. Like, we celebrate and let somebody else in the door. So I think it's incorporating it into the way we treat people is the best answer I have. So.
Thank you. I'm gonna flip it over to you, Mario.
Yeah, and I love what both Acacia and Kim said. I think a lot of what I bring as well is my experience. I'm not an expert in social justice as well, but being in a predominantly cisgender white male industry of venture capital, I think the reality is that a lot of other perspectives are really needed when coming to the industry. I think for me, as someone who's identifies Latino and looks different as well, I have alopecia and lost my hair when I was a young child as well. Those experiences of being different and being an other in a room are things that I want to bring to the table at PayPal as well. And I think that's something that has been really a great part of being part of the organization. And so about 6 months ago, we made a $530 million commitment to support Black lives and other underrepresented communities across the United States. And a big part of that commitment is really to not just say something but do something, and I'm incredibly proud of PayPal for what we've done over a short 6 months, and a lot more that we're going to be doing over the next multiple years and generations. And as part of that, being someone on the ventures team, the ability to really have an influence and be a leader within the organization as well, helping out with at least the ventures part of our commitment has really been a big part of that, and be able to share my perspective is something that has been incredibly welcoming to me.
And I would just add that Mario has been a true leader in that economic opportunity effort at PayPal. And so we're just so thankful. Okay, so I am going to go on to the next question. In your opinion, what does being a good ally look like from a business perspective? And I'll start again with Acacia.
Whew, where can we start?
I know. But that is the topic du jour,
yes.
so we have to ask the question.
Yes, there's so many. I'm so glad to just have this question, even something that we can speak about. I have some bullet points here. So I think number one is avoiding predatory practices. So just like Kim was saying, like really showing and not just saying, showing through the way that you hire people, who you do business with, the way that you structure your compensation plans, all of these different things, even if it affects your bottom line. Because at the end of the day, what I think this looks like from a business perspective is really investing in people and their longevity, not necessarily just your bottom line in the business, because the business is built off of people. I think sometimes it means acting on good faith, which means sacrificing sometimes some of the security that the business may have, or you may have as a person within the business, to advocate for the rights and equity of others who may not have a voice or a platform to stand on. I think it means being conscious all the time, or trying to expand the conversation to include and ask yourself, who is being represented here and who's not? Who's speaking and who's not? So sometimes that can mean doing some of the extra work that feels rewardless to build systems that will be equitable for all people. And then I think really at the end, what it really means is checking our privilege, thinking of ways to highlight and provide opportunities for people who are not in the room. And again, sometimes goes towards sacrificing your own ability to have upward mobility or expand your own brand. And last but not least, what Mario said, not just saying something about things, but doing things. I think those are some general good practices, but they're growing. As COVID has shown, there's so many different ways to engage, and there's so many different needs, and so many different ways to create regenerative relationships with oppressed and marginalized communities, that it really comes towards asking and listening, like to those communities themselves.
Yeah. No, this is great. I was taking notes, Acacia. So many good bullet points, and I really liked. I liked all of them, but I responded to like acting on good faith, right? You may have norms for how you do business, but you may have to take a perceived risk in order to have greater inclusion. Kim, I would love your perspective.
Yeah, I do love what you just said. It's like, don't talk about it, be about it. It's really your actions and making sure those line up, standing up for people in any situation. And sometimes that means standing up for people that might be defined as privileged, because I feel like they're not being heard as well. It's making sure everyone's got a voice. For us, diversity means the more perspectives you have at the table, the better, like the better solutions you're going to come up with. That's just good business sense. And being really intentional about making sure that you have as many perspectives in the room as possible. That said, I do have a little bit, this may be controversial.